The Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. With your hosts, Joe Bond.
You're awful.
And AJ Applegarth.
It's Sin Shu Chu. It's a mouthful.
All right. Welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, as usual, Mr. AJ Applegarth. What is up, man?
A lot. Mostly just this killer stash, but a lot.
Oh, my gosh. I don't know about all that. We're just going to ignore that.
Ignore it as much as you want.
I wish I could. I had to look at it all night, unfortunately.
Just cannot.
I want to. Leave me alone. So anyway, I'm gonna do a little bragging here. Just came back from my daughter's softball end of year party, and they went undefeated this season. Pretty fantastic. Got a kick-ass coaching gift. Little water bottle here. I love it, man. It's cool. Got a ball.
So who's Coach Joe?
Yeah.
And why'd you steal his cup?
Got a cool ball with, the year and the record and all the girls' names on it. So that's it's cool. Little memorabilia for the nice season to remember. So I'm in a good mood, man. Don't ruin this for me.
Fine.
doesn't
I'll
happen
let
very
you have
often.
it this time.
I know, right? Jeez. For once. All right, so tonight we're going to be talking about a couple news and notes here. We're going to be getting into some NFL future bets, and then we're going to break down some of the, look at some of these players who have had pretty different first 5 games versus the second 5 games of the season, and then obviously finish with our injuries and our DFS plays for the week. Right now, we got the Pats and the Falcons, and I believe it's 10-0 Patriots nearing the end of the first half here. But before we move forward, I want to remind you guys to, as I stuttered through all of that, just remind you guys, hit that subscribe button, follow us on YouTube or iTunes or Spotify or Facebook, wherever you're listening. We appreciate your support. And by the way, I forget to mention this every week. Our producer who is one of the co-hosts of the Wolfpack Fantasy Football Podcast on Friday nights on our YouTube channel. If you guys subscribe to us and we get to 500 subscribers, they will be giving away a signed mini helmet from Jerry Jeudy. So, it's a no-brainer, guys. All you got to do is hit subscribe and we got you. We'll hit you up if you're the winner. So that's good to go there. All right, man. You ready for the beer of the week?
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
Beer.
All right, what you got, man?
You can do the honors.
All right.
You're already drinking.
Yeah, well, I was drinking at the party too. So it's gonna be good.
Some coach.
That's why I'm in a good mood.
Yeah.
No. So this is a other half. It is a Blue Crab special reserve. It is an Imperial IPA, 8. It's really hard to read. The writing's like gold, and it's over like this dark blue label. It doesn't really shine very well. I think it's 8.5. Either way, it's pretty tasty, man. I gave it a 4 1/4. Got some crabs on the label. It's kind of cool looking, but yeah, solid beer. Other half, can't go wrong.
Yeah. Absolutely. I myself am drinking a Founders Brew. No, I'm just kidding. That's not at all right. It is the Mispillion River Brewing's McLovin Mango Milkshake Style IPA. Let me just go ahead. I'm not even actually drinking it yet. Finishing a special release Oakspire from New Belgium, but we'll go with this right now. Yep. That's the stuff right there. All right. Yeah, it's good. It's pretty light. I mean, light tasting. 7.5. So, yeah, I don't know. Talking about meerkats. It's got a Delaware thing, license plate. McLovin playing off of that.
Were we talking about meerkats?
No, we weren't. But
I was gonna say what?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know where you were going with that, but cool.
It's
Meerkats.
there. It
Awesome.
is there. So that's apparently a thing.
All right, man.
So speaking of McLovin, mangoes, and bringing that milkshake to the yard, the best way to bring that milkshake to the yard is to get yourself involved with Manscaped. Come on, people. What are you doing? We got new products here. I got them back here.
Got him, baby.
We got the Manscaped body wash. We got a 2-in-1 Dos y Uno Manscaped.
I use these suckers tonight, man. I smell good. I smell good. I'm not gonna lie, man. I smell good.
I mean, it just reeks of man. I mean, I don't know how else to put it.
I was gonna say something else, man.
It's very. No, it's very.
No, I mean, sorry. I was gonna say the same thing. I don't know why I said something else. Anyway,
interesting. But yes, we've got our coupon code here. Still getting 20% off, free shipping. Use our promo code F6P20 right there on the ticker. It's in the show notes. It's all over the place. Get in on this deal. You need to get some Manscaped. Not only because the holidays are coming, but other things might be as well. You need to be one for yourself. It's a time of reflection in the holidays, and the best way to reflect is to get a nice shave and just get that light coming right back at you. Feel better about yourself. All right.
Sounds good, man.
Bring that milkshake to the yard.
Yep. Remember F6P20, and the 6 is number 2. So F number 6, letter P 20. 20% off, free shipping through the end of the month. So hit that up and get in on that action. The products are definitely worth it. But let's move on here, man. Bring in our guest of the night, and it is Mr. Adam Stark at EverydayFFB on Twitter. New writer for Fantasy Six Pack as well. How's it going, man?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Yeah, man, we're doing great. Enjoying some football.
Joe's doing awesome. In case you haven't heard yet,
I'm
awesome.
in a great mood. I usually come to these, I'm just kind of like, bah, all right, I'm fine. Had a bad day with the kids or whatever crap is going on. No, it was a good night, man.
Good to hear. Yeah, football's on. Always never bad night when football's on. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, man. So we're gonna jump into some quick couple news topics here, and I mean, really, the only newsy topic is, Joe Flacco starting for the Jets this week. Just want to get your quick reaction on we've gone from Zach Wilson, which everybody after the preseason was like, oh, I mean, maybe this could work, and then no, never mind. And then Mike White comes in and lights the world on fire for a game and a quarter until he gets hurt, and then last week was just atrocious. Now it's over to Joe Flacco. What happened? Not that anybody's starting Joe Flacco, but people are legit, probably trying to start Michael Carter, Corey Davis. That's pretty much it. Maybe some Crowder if you're totally desperate. What do you think their value is with Flacco under center now?
See, it's really interesting because they're playing the Dolphins this week. Granted, they are home, so I guess that is kind of nice. But the Dolphins are coming in hot after a big win on Thursday night against the Ravens. They're well rested too, so they got the extra few days or whatever. And Xavier Howard, Byron Jones have been pretty locked down. So Michael Carter, I don't think it's a bad play. I think he's a solid play just because he's been pretty solid in the past with Mike White and Zach Wilson, whoever. But I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Carter did nothing and the entire Jets offense did nothing but it wouldn't shock me if he got a bunch of checkdowns and they just
Right.
kind of worked around him, since he's pretty much the only weapon in that offense right now.
Yeah, we'll get to a little more of Michael Carter later, kind of discuss what's going on. But yeah, I mean, he's been good, especially now that they've finally started using him. I mean, AJ, are you comfortable starting Michael Carter? I mean, if you have him, you're probably having to use him.
Flex option.
Yeah. I mean,
Especially with some of the buys too.
You got buys, you got injuries still creeping up. I would start him. I'd be okay starting him. I mean, it's not a great matchup, but I mean, who else are you looking at if you're swamped with buys and crushed with injuries? Are you really going to rely on like a Devonta Freeman, a Lev Bell, and hope that he falls in the end zone?
Lev Bell is cut.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. He's going to fall in the end zone for a high school team at this point. No, to me, it's a no-brainer to start Carter. Davis, I have him in a couple of teams, and I'm debating on whether or not I want to start him. I've got to look at some options and see who else I can start, but it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you got the Rams off this week. You got Denver off this week. It's a lot of quality receivers that are not playing. So, yeah, I think I might take a stab at Davis here and there, but I don't know. You got to look at Flacco's, history with running backs and receivers too. I mean, when he was in Baltimore, he had pretty decent running games. He liked to do the check downs.
Much better quarterback back then, but
he was indeed. But he also had good receivers. I don't know. I'm not starting Flacco, but Carter, yes. Davis, TBD.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Next question for you, Adam. Dude, what's going on with the Rams, man? Like, they're like, this is like the new, like, everybody was worried about KC. Now KC blew up last week, and now everybody's like, well, wait, the Rams. What's going on with the Rams? Should we be worried? Like,
it seems like they've just passed on this kind of curse or whatever it is that's going around the NFL. It seems like, I don't know, every big team has started to struggle now, in which if you have a Super Bowl bet, you are not feeling confident about it, because if you had a Chiefs bet, I mean, great, you might be feeling a little better, but now if you had a Bucks bet, a Bills bet, you're shaky now. But the Rams, they just bring in Von Miller. They lost. I mean, granted, Von Miller didn't even play, but still, they brought him in, lost. And now they brought in OBJ, lost. And OBJ did get a few snaps in. He only played, I think, 15 snaps, not a whole lot, but still a couple plays. But it's interesting.
Wasn't he one of the reasons why one of the Stafford's passes was intercepted? Yeah, like, no kidding. He's been on the team for 3 days.
Another thing that was just like a force feed type, like, I'm sending it deep. We're trying it now. And if that's Van Jefferson, there's no way Stafford throws that or trusts him to do that.
I agree. I didn't even think he was going to start, I'll be honest. And then I guess with Woods out, they kind of like, figured, let's just do this and make it happen. We'll give him a couple like easy plays here. But I think it was a bad decision. He clearly didn't understand the offense. Ran a couple wrong routes and stuff like that. So poor decision there.
And then I'm a Detroit guy too, so I'm starting to see Stafford, in which I've seen that Stafford before, where he starts to struggle a bit and he can't beat these good teams. And so it's interesting, because I want to say the Rams have only beaten like bad teams or below, maybe it's non-playoff teams or something like that, but it's not good teams they've only beaten this year. So anytime they've been tested, they haven't really passed the test.
That's interesting. I have not honestly looked into that. I want to look back at this now.
And Stafford's record, I mean,
beat the Bears, they beat the Colts, they beat the Bucks. There you go. They lost to the Cardinals. They beat the Seahawks. That was the start
of the Bucks' downfall.
That was week 3, so no. They beat the Seahawks, which not great. They beat the Giants, beating the Lions, beating the Texans. They lost to the Titans, and then obviously lost to the 49ers. So, yeah, I mean, really the only good team they've beaten are the Bucs. And the Bucs defense really isn't that great. So, say what you will. Yeah, that's a good call. I didn't really pay much attention to that. They've just been kind of rolling, and you just kind of go with it. I think it's going to work.
That's kind of been Stafford's MO, in which he's always been able to take care of the bad teams. But when it comes to crunch time and playoff teams, he kind of struggles a bit. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be, to me, the biggest the thing we're gonna have to watch the most is now just how different is this offense without Robert Woods. I know Robert Woods wasn't doing what a lot of people expected, me included, but he's still a threat. He's still a huge weapon in that offense, and Stafford had lots of time to learn to use him the way that he should be used. And now that he's not there, he's going to have to, force feed a Van Jefferson, force feed an OBJ, which, yeah, OBJ's talented. But as we mentioned last week, AJ, these wide receiver trades mid-season usually don't work out, even with it being like high-profile players. It's very rare that it works. I mean, Amari Cooper was like one of the last ones, and that was like a 2 game out of 8 sample that it worked, and it just kind of blew up that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think OBJ will get better in time, but we're going into week 11 here. You got a few more weeks, and then you really have to be pedal to the metal to make that playoff push. Or for some teams, like now is the time to really have to hit the gas. I think it's lucky for them that they have the bye this week, because they're coming off of this skid and coming off the Woods injury. So
they need to get OBJ more. So be more practice.
It's a nice chance for them to get him involved, get him at least learning enough plays that they can get him involved. And keep working him up. But I mean, I think they're tired. It's a lot to take on, and it's an even longer season now. So I think the bye this week for the bye for them is like perfect timing.
Yeah, it is pretty convenient, in which hopefully Stafford and OBJ are in the backyard right now. 650 over there. They're throwing the ball around and trying to get that chemistry down, because it certainly was not there. And honestly, it wouldn't shock me if the Rams just completely skidded out of control and finished like 9-8, 10-7, where they lose 3 out of their next, 5, 6, whatever, and just aren't the same ever since OBJ comes to town. And
the curse of OBJ.
I think it's
first Robert Woods, now the entire team.
I think it's a total virus, man. But so before we jump into our next topic, which kind of stems from this Rams team into the NFL futures talk, which, Adam, is something you're going to be writing for us. We do have a question, and it is a friend of our Sunday show usually, Mr. Bob Dole. And yes, it is what that's supposed to be. I do remember Bob. It's pretty good. So usual question. Jonathan Taylor, Dalvin Cook, Fournette, James Conner start 3. So he starts 2 and then a flex. So to me, it's probably the first 3. You guys agree?
I think so. Let me just double check.
So his receivers, by the way, are Diggs, Brown, Kupp, and holy crap.
Cardinals. I don't know.
Wow.
Start 2 wide receivers.
Well, Kupp is out.
I would.
Brown and I got to look at my rankings too now that I'm thinking about it, because it's close between Allen and Brown. Because Allen's been balling out. I closed my rankings right before the show. That was phenomenal for me. Because I wasn't expecting this.
I like Diggs and Allen.
It's definitely Diggs.
Yeah, I agree on that.
I mean, I
think
Taylor's
Allen's a little more safe. but AJB probably has.
I think I got. I mean, it's Brown versus Houston. I forgot Tennessee was playing Houston. I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I'm going Brown. I'm going Brown and Diggs. Anybody disagree? You can. You're allowed.
That's
no, I'm good with that.
All right.
I think Brown brings the upside, and I think he's due.
And if you can start the third receiver, I'm kind of confused with the way you asked the question. If you can start the third receiver, I would start Allen over Fournette.
Yeah,
especially in PPR. Wow, you can't say that for 8 catches last week with Fournette, but I would do it.
Yeah, but is that a weekly thing for him? No.
Probably not, but you believe it or not, he's been heavily involved in this passing game.
He has. I will. Yeah, I'm not going to deny that, but it's not as likely. It's not as likely. It's not as consistent. So yeah, Allen's just been killing it there. So anyway, man, thanks, Bob. Let's move on here. So yeah, NFL futures, Adam. This is something you're going to be writing for us, I think, starting next week. So you're going to be breaking down kind of the moving lines of the NFL futures and, you know, kind of the ones you like, the ones you dislike. So give us a, let's start with a couple that you like as of right now. NFL futures for player props or, Super Bowl winners or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
So let's just talk Super Bowl, I guess, right now, because I guess that's always seems like the biggest and best.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of like, it's interesting because the odds have changed quite a bit, in which we saw the Chiefs and Bucks were leading the way early on. The Bucks are still up there. They're second, plus 600. But the Chiefs have fallen down a bit to plus 1,000. And with Patrick Mahomes throwing for 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, coming off on a primetime performance, I would not be opposed to throwing a few bucks on them. The Cardinals, they're plus 950. I think they're absolutely still getting slept on. They have just so much star power on their team. I know they lost J.J. Watt, but they still have Chandler Jones, all the weapons, Kyler Murray and Hopkins, A.J. Green, Zach Ertz, Rondale Moore, Christian Kirk. There's plenty.
Well, I remember J.J. Watt can actually come. Like, he's talking about he could come back.
It wouldn't shock me, man. For a playoff run, I would not be surprised because that dude is a warrior. As we know, he injured his I forget what his injury was. It was like some sort of shoulder, bicep, I don't know. But he did it like in the first or second quarter, finished the game. So it was pretty impressive that he gutted it out.
Agreed.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of injury history, so it's
I was hard to rely on him. Wait, totally. What, injured? What did I say about him?
You did rifle through a lot of teams there, so I might have missed this one. What's your thoughts on the Chiefs here at plus 1,000?
They're one of my favorites. I think honestly, I'd probably throw a few bucks on them right now, just noticing that they're plus 1,000.
The lines moved a lot. I mean, they were one of the absolute favorites before the season.
Exactly,
obviously.
Yeah, and they can do it. They have Mahomes and Andy Reid. They still have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Granted,
CEH should be back soon. If not this week.
Exactly.
Which is only going to help.
Honestly, with how good Terrell Williams is playing, it might not really matter a whole lot. If their defense can just, hold some teams to under like 25 points, then Mahomes will definitely be able to get it done.
Agreed. Yeah, is there anybody kind of in the lower tier here where like they're long shots, but you're like, you know what, $10, why not?
I would say the Bengals. They had a nice little run where they were the top in the AFC, and then they kind of fell apart a bit. They lost to the Jets, and then they lost another one. And now they're kind of in the middle of the pack fighting for a wild card spot. Mm-hmm. Still have a chance at winning their division, but it's looking like the Ravens are gaining a little more control. But the Bengals, I'm not saying they could win the Super Bowl, but man, if they make it to at least the conference finals, you would be a great hedge opportunity because plus 4,400 right now, throw $10 on it. They make it to the AFC Championship game. You'd hedge that a bit and make it work. And even if they, win the Super Bowl, you're still making out quite a bit. And I think the Bengals, it wouldn't shock me to see them go on like a Philadelphia Eagles type run where they just kind of come out of nowhere. They have a solid defense. Joe Burrow is a solid quarterback. He has been making mistakes, but he has plenty of weapons around him with the 3 receivers and Joe Mixon.
Agreed. I like that one a lot. I was kind of looking at New Orleans, although, I'm not really sure what to think of with the quarterback situation there, but like their defense is legit, man. And I think like if they can just get Trevor Siemian to play safe and almost be like,
Be like Trevor Siemian.
The one that's interesting is the Seahawks. They're plus
I looked at them,
12,000.
but they're 3-6, man. At this point, like they have a lot of room. They have a lot
That's
to
true.
go before they can
If
even
they
get
somehow-
to the playoffs.
If they beat the Cardinals this week, their odds are they'll jump quite a bit.
Yeah, they've just got to leapfrog a lot of teams. They're gonna have to basically almost win out to
But
get
especially
into
with
this.
how the whole NFC is going, if they make that 7 wild card seed, then that's all it takes for the Seahawks. Once they're in, man.
Yeah, Russ can get healthy. Their defense isn't that great though. Their defense is allowing a lot of yards, but not a lot of points, which is weird. It's just like
Exactly, yeah.
they're bend but don't break type of mentality.
Yeah.
So that could work for them, but yeah, they're definitely gonna have to get Russ Wilson, going here pretty strong.
They still, they face the Cardinals this week and then again the last
2 weeks, right? Or is it the last week?
It's the last week of the season.
I don't know why.
But they've got Bears as a winnable game, Lions, Rams, or Bears, Rams, Lions. Sorry. Rams maybe, and depending on how they're going, Cowboys could be tough. Colts could be tough.
They're gonna have a tough
They're
schedule here.
winnable. It's Colts at home. It's at Cowboys. I might have to chalk that one up as a loss, as much as that pains me to do. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. This is the Cardinals schedule. My bad. I was like,
it's not working. Nope, that's not the right one
to me.
But no. So what are some of the ones that like
me.
up top here that you're just like, I want no part of this?
Probably the Titans.
Yeah.
They're doing good, and I know they just keep beating good teams, but I'm not sold on Ryan Tannehill.
Especially without Derrick Henry, right? Like, how long can this keep going?
Packers, they're interesting. I'm like right in the middle on them. They're not a team that I would fade, but they're not a team that I want to put money on. So it wouldn't shock me if they won the Super Bowl, but it wouldn't shock me if they lost in round 1 to like a solid team or whatever.
Yeah.
The Patriots, they are a sneaky team. They're playing right now. They're shutting out the Falcons. Mac Jones, if he just keeps playing like he is and this defense is getting better, they absolutely have the coach, obviously, to get them not just to the Super Bowl, to like win it. So they are, I feel like, respected now. So you're not getting crazy odds, but plus 1,700, it's solid.
Well, not bad, yeah.
The one I kind of am off is the Ravens. I've said it on a show a few weeks ago where they keep having these just dreadful first halves. And when they're going to, look, they had a dreadful first half against Miami last week and they couldn't come back from it. They've made it work all season except for last week, it feels like. They're not going to make that work when they go up against a good team time and time again in the playoffs, right? They've made it work so far, but in the playoffs it's going to be a different story. They're not going to be able to go down 14, 17 points in the first half and then have these miraculous comebacks all because Lamar Jackson is going to run. These good teams in the playoffs are going to be smart enough and they're going to be coached well enough to go, Lamar, you're going to have to beat us with your arm and not just run for 100 yards in the second half and beat us. And 1,300, that's still not enough odds for me, even though they've got the record right now. To add those odds makes sense. I just don't think it's a good bet. I don't think they're going to be a Super Bowl winner at all.
Yeah, I think it's hard to roll with them. They face so many injuries and issues as it is this year, but they're winning the division, albeit by, I guess, a half game because of the tie. But they I mean, I don't know. Their schedule has been so weird. They lose the opening week to the Raiders in a very emotional game for Vegas. Then they come back and beat the Chiefs, Lions, Broncos. Okay, Colts. And then Chargers. Chargers.
But like, remember that Colts game too? They were down huge. Like again, like that's another just one of those games.
Came back and
Colts
just,
game. I think
Vikings.
against the Vikings. They've done
Detroit
it
game.
time and time again.
I mean, they
The
almost
game,
lost to Detroit.
The record-setting field goal. Like
it's ridiculous. Chiefs
there's
game,
just a lot of games
was
here
the
with
same
there's
kind of deal.
something in my gut telling me the Ravens aren't a real Super Bowl winning team this year. And so at 1,300, like that's not enough for me to want to put down a little bit of like any money on. Adam, do you agree with that?
Vikings
came
back against them.
Yeah, I would. If you're gonna put money on the Ravens at 1,300, then I would put the house on the Chiefs at plus 1,000.
Yeah, pretty much. I totally agree. All right, man. Well, let's move on here to the next topic, and what we got in store is Keith Lott, the co-owner of Fantasy Six Pack, went ahead and did some data analysis here and broke down kind of this is PPR scoring, but it's the first 5 games versus the second 5 games, so 1 through 5 and 6 through 10, just kind of the difference, right? And so I've highlighted a few guys, and feel free to add your own here, but starting with the running backs, I looked at some interesting ones here for me, and we're going to go right back here to Michael Carter. And this is just a guy, just because we talked about the Jets earlier, that I wanted to start with. And his first 5 weeks, 8.8, and a lot of that was usage. Just a lack of usage, right? They were still just running the ball with Ty Johnson and others a lot, and this offensive style trying to figure things out. He did have a massive week in the middle here, which kind of blows up his 6 through 10, but he's still at 19.1 PPR points the last 5 weeks. So a difference of 10 points PPR. Do you think this is sustainable for him, Adam?
I think so. Yeah, I think he's found his kind of rookie role in which the Jets like him. They have realized he's a solid player, are trying to discover what else he has inside. But Tyler Johnson has been sneaking some rushes quite a bit from him, and Tyler Johnson hasn't been the best either. So it's been kind of odd. I wouldn't be shocked if Michael Carter just fully commanded that backfield. But until he does, I think he's a solid RB2/flex guy, depending on matchup. And then once I see him command that backfield, then he'll get that RB1 upside. But as of now, I think it's capped at RB2.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one thing that does kind of make me feel better about using him, especially in an RB2 role, is the fact that he's pretty heavily used in the passing game outside of like 1 week, that Indy game where Josh Johnson just decided he didn't want to use him at all after Mike White got hurt. But like out of the last 4 weeks, I mean, it's 9 targets, 14 targets, then 2, then 6. So like you feel pretty good there with that. And I mean, the 6 was even against Buffalo, who is just trashing everybody who plays against them, and he still had 14 PPR points. So you're 18 PPR points. So you're definitely happy there. He fell into the end zone, pretty late there. So you're happy there with that for sure. Another guy that I've got here listed is Joe Mixon, a guy that I have literally wanted nothing to do with coming into the season because he's burned me too many times. His injury and are you a Cincy fan?
Not just big Joe Mixon guy. He was one of the guys I was.
I think he's talented.
There's a lot of people that either hate him or love him, and I think he's calling
super.
For it, man. I have him as actually. Ironically, here's one of my ranking sheets. I was at the Midwest Fantasy Football Convention handing out these bad boys. I got Joe Mixon as my cover guy, and I think here I had him as my RB6. So he's I think around there right now, and I think he'll finish pretty close. 8
PPR right now, it looks like, maybe something
like that.
Yeah, he's close.
Having a good year.
I'm with you, Adam.
I'm getting shit on right now. By the way, my thing with him is just the last couple of years, right? Is like, so 2021 he played, or 2020, sorry, he played 6 games, right? injury. 2019, he played a bunch of games, just didn't really perform very well, was seemingly always banged up. And this year, he just hasn't been banged up. But, like, yeah, I mean, so fine. Like I always said, like if he could get through a full season, he's going to outperform his draft value. But it hasn't happened lately, so it's just kind of like, all right, I'm done with it. And the offense like seems like they wanted to go through Burrow in this passing game, especially after drafting Chase. So it was like even more of a reason not to draft him because he wasn't going to get used in the passing game. But I digress. He's been phenomenally better. And, you know, he was solid to begin the season, but the last 5 weeks, 22.8 PPR points on average. I mean, with Burrow struggling and, you know, Chase not doing quite as well as he did to start the year, like, is this something we can see continue? Even though, like, honestly, his usage isn't, like, off the charts. So is 22, like...
He's been falling into the end zone a bit. But
right, that's what I'm kind of thinking.
And honestly, I think this offense is kind of built like that, in which they've got a lot of weapons that could get them down there. But oftentimes than not, if a guy breaks it for 20 yards, the safety or someone ends up catching him within the 10 to 1 yard line. And if that happens, which we've seen a few times with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, whoever, Joe Mixon just gets that carry, gets that touch. And then not to mention, his usage in the backfield for passing has been up and down. They started using him as a pass catcher and then they stopped. And now they're kind of back to using him as a pass catcher. And I think these last 2 games he's had receiving touchdowns, in which I know at least 2 out of the last 3. So the one against the Lions, he had a 50-yard touchdown in which he just looked phenomenal. Mm-hmm. He just sped down the sideline. And then he had another one, I want to say, against the Jets, maybe with the Browns. I don't know. But he has been catching more passes lately. And if he keeps that up, then our top 5 running back territory is completely where he will stay.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of his second half value, well, I say second half, but, the second 5-game value has come from is the fact that he's been way more involved in the passing game than he was earlier in the season. So, yeah, I agree. If he can keep that up, the value is going to stay there. He's going to need to fall in the end zone a lot more still because the rushing attack is just, I mean, the rushing yards aren't there. I mean, like 12 for 59, that's okay. 13 for 64, like the yards per carry is fine, but they're not going to give him the ball, 16, 17, 18, 20 times more than, like they were earlier in the year. They're going to try to get him in space, which is what they should do.
Against that Jets game, he had 33 yards rushing and finished with like 28 PPR points because he had 4 catches, 50 yards, and 1 touchdown. So.
And he ran for a touchdown too. So that was pretty big. So yeah, he I'm hesitant to say that he's going to keep up like a 23 point per average or per game average here, but I think he's easily in that top, 10, and you could argue he'll finish top 5 the rest of the way easily. So I agree.
Yeah, Mixon's interesting to me. I mean, looking at their schedule ahead too, I know we're talking 5-5, but if he's going to maintain throughout the rest of this season, I mean, he had a pretty decent game against the Steelers. He's already played them once. He had 18 for 90. He sees the Steelers. He still sees the Chiefs. He's got, the Chargers. Raiders is next up. I think these are teams that you can run on. The Niners might be tough. Denver is probably going to be tough. Ravens, we saw what happened there last time. So, and then there's Chiefs and then Browns again. I think he's going to have a good rest of the year, assuming, he stays healthy. And he probably won't now that I've said that.
Uh-oh. Andrew said his name. He's done now.
If you have him, trade him. He's going the way of Robert Woods. Come tomorrow's practice.
Oh, Lord. That was your
fault. God, I'm sorry.
It's all your fault. Anyway, you want to give the next name, AJ?
Yeah. So next guy we got here, Mr. Jonathan Taylor. I mean,
Baller.
he's picking up pretty much where he left off last year, and there was a lot of controversy with that. I feel like because it was pretty cakewalk schedule, but he still balled out, and then weeks 1 to 5 he was still averaging just under 17 points, which pretty solid, but he was getting drafted what RB 8, 9, somewhere in that range, if it maybe a little higher.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're looking at 17 points from your first round pick, and you're like, this isn't really what I was hoping for. But now he's up at 25.3. So, it's a gain of damn near 8.5 points. I mean, what are your thoughts on Taylor, Adam? Do you think he's going to maintain and continue this surge?
Yeah, I think so. He has really impressed me these last few weeks. I have thought he's always been a solid RB, but I was always obviously a big Swift guy coming out of that RB class. And now I think Taylor is the clear-cut RB, not just RB1, but I guess RB1 and RB1 from that class. And, yeah, I think Taylor's going to continue, in which he's looked great. He can make all the moves. He's shown he can truck guys, jump guys, run people over, do whatever. And that second burst he has, that extra gear where once he hits that hole, boom, it's over. It is over. And it gives me Derrick Henry vibes, in which once they hit that hole and get to that next gear, no one catches them. They're just track stars running down the field. Yeah. And then not to mention, Jonathan Taylor has been showing he can catch passes and do that too. So if he can continue taking little screen passes 50, 60 yards to the house.
Henry's been doing a little bit of that too. Not as much, but yeah. Granted when he was healthy. But I'll say this about Jonathan Taylor, and I agree with everything you said, Adam, and I like him a lot. I think he can obviously keep this going. The only thing that's going to hold him back is his head coach. And I tweeted out something during the games this past weekend. Jonathan Taylor, in the first quarter of this past weekend's game against Jacksonville, had 10 carries for 93 yards and a touchdown. Everybody who has him is just going like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get 50 points from this guy, right? Yeah. Colts are up 17-6 at that point. Frank Reich must have just been like, hey, we're good. We're just going to run him only 8 more times, and we're going to win this game. 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. 20-17 Colts. They pretty much almost lose this game because they decided like they're not going to use Jonathan Taylor. Now I get it. Jacksonville, like they adjusted their defense and they keyed in on Jonathan Taylor. But Wentz at that point with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter had 112 passing yards. Jonathan Taylor had 112 rushing yards. Which one's working, guys? This is just like stupidity. And so but we've seen this like almost the reverse too, where like they use they press with Wentz a lot early, and then they use Jonathan Taylor late. Like it's working, but it scares me that like Frank Reich just doesn't. He like almost wants Wentz to do better than his running back, even if it costs him games. And I don't. It seems like that sometimes because I mean there was another game earlier in the year where they had the ball within the 5 or 10 yard line. I forget which one it was. 2 or 3 times in that game, they ran the ball with Jonathan Taylor 0 times. They lost the game by a touchdown. Figure this out. Like so, the only thing going to hold him back is his head coach. That's all I would say. But other than that, like. Obviously, I think we all like Jonathan Taylor moving forward. 25 points a game is hard to keep up, but if anybody can do it, he can.
Yeah, the funniest thing here is looking at ESPN, and if you go to the game cast for last week's game, Taylor's big day, blocked punt, lead Colts past Jaguars 23-17, and then it talks about Taylor gashing runs and a blocked punt helped Indianapolis Colts open with a flourish Sunday. Then their defense held tight for the final 3 quarters.
Because they decided to
hell are
stop
you doing?
running their offense. Yeah, it's just bizarre.
Don't make your defense hold a game for 3 freaking quarters.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that says it all right there. It's like your defense is good. Carson Wentz has shown some of his flashes from that MVP season, or MVP season before he got injured, and then we won the Super Bowl with the backup. Cheers, BDN. But yeah, I don't know what the hell Reich is thinking. He needs to
very bizarre.
Get it straight and figure it out. So let's look at some opposite-ended guys here, and the big one that's kind of surprising or not, Cordarrelle Patterson. I mean, he was absolutely destroying everything in the first 5 weeks and made Mike Davis owners wonder why the hell they even drafted him.
No, they're still wondering.
Well, yeah.
It's not just the first 5 weeks.
But, I mean, he dropped like 6.2 points, from a over 20 point per game to 14.2. And he's inactive tonight. He's dealing with an injury. Maybe that's part of it. But
no, he got injured last game. That has nothing to do with it.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying, though. It's like if he's got injury or not injury, I'm sorry. Like this is a Patterson that we know, that we're used to seeing, where it's like, oh, okay, he's Cordarrelle Patterson. He's going to have like a few flashy games and whatever. But it was just like boom, 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 boom. And then it's gone off the rails. What do you think about Patterson, Adam?
I think part of this is the Falcons trying to get Kyle Pitts more involved. I don't think this is like Mike Davis or anyone trying to steal their carries or actually, stealing their carries. But Cordarrelle, I think this is like a little bit of just him coming back down to earth. Like this guy, he wasn't realistically like he's not a top 10 running back. I mean, I know he's playing like it, and I know he is balling and going crazy, but like realistically, like I think maybe he can sustain it through this year, but next year, no way. So
yeah,
you got to figure he's going to have some rough games or some games where he just doesn't get it done, but just, has an okay game. And, he's kind of been a diamond in the rough in a sense where most people got him for free or in the last pick of their draft, if that. So he's a guy that I think will still be solid just based off volume and based off Calvin Ridley still not being there. And it's pretty much just him and Kyle Pitts running this offense right now. So until, another guy breaks out or Calvin Ridley comes back, then I think you're safe with Cordarrelle Patterson.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think he's a safe play. I will say this. So like last week was bad. He got the ankle injury, but they just kind of got wrecked in that game. The other thing to look at is even in Week 9 against New Orleans, he finished with a pretty gaudy PPR stat line. Six catches, 126 yards. Only ran for 10 yards. He shut that down. But one of those catches, I think, was like a 42-yard catch, like with basically no time left. That kind of padded his receiving stats there. So if you take that away, he was like 5 for 80, which still isn't terrible, but it wasn't 19.6 PPR points. So a huge boost there. Besides that, he was phenomenal. As you said, he's just been awesome. Next couple guys here, and I'll just kind of lump both of them together. No, because one's a big name, one's sort of not. Real quick thoughts on Zack Moss. Like he had a kind of stretch there in the middle there where he was really, really good, and that was his early season. Now he's kind of fizzled off. I know he had the injury, so kind of take that into consideration too. But is he somebody that you can think he can trust? Because he does have 14.5 PPR points in the first 5, and then 7.7 so far in these last 5. Any faith that he can bounce back to getting close to those 14.5?
Yeah, he's been kind of up and down in a sense where it's kind of like the Devin Singletary factor, in which if you
And
took
Matt
Devin
Breida,
Singletary away,
apparently.
he would be a solid back. But as of now, they're just kind of splitting it, and you could tell the Bills are in it to win games. They do not care about fantasy football stats
Agreed.
or player stats, as obviously most teams don't. But I think they are in the mentality of whoever's doing best, whoever the hot hand is, whoever can score us the touchdown, that's who's going to get it done. And I think, especially with Josh Allen and his mobility and his ability to rush it in, get touchdowns, move the chains with his legs. Zack Moss, as of right now, I like him. I think he's a good dynasty back, but for this year, I think you're still kind of just holding him on your bench.
Yeah, I starting with Scott Fish, but I might swap that one to Gronk if he's
I'm
cleared.
starting him in Singletary. That's what I've been doing, and it's been working some weeks and been working terrible some weeks.
I mean, when Moss falls in the end zone, you're okay, but obviously if Matt Breida keeps stealing carries, you're pissed. Dude, that one's kind of weird. The last guy here, somebody who we were all super excited about to start the season, Mr. Austin Ekeler, is still doing okay. I mean, 15 points a game, but not even close to his 23.9, almost 24 to start the year in PPR. I think Ekeler and really this entire Chargers offense, can they sort of turn things around here?
I think so. I mean, they have the weapons with, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams, who ironically has kind of fallen off a cliff himself. But this Chargers team, they're not like a bad team. So it would shock me if Austin Ekeler kind of was just phased out, because we've seen him get quite a bit of usage lately.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ekeler is a guy who is going to be a focal point of this offense, and I think they will figure it out eventually, and look more like what they did early on. Outside of maybe Mike Williams, we'll get to that one in a little bit, but it has been frustrating, and you kind of wonder if maybe this injury that he had a couple weeks ago is still kind of lingering for him. That he missed any time, but I mean, AJ, what's your thoughts about Ekeler here, real quick before we move on?
I mean, I'm not overly worried with Ekeler. I think that he's a guy that you're going to play regardless. This is still a talented Chargers team, and it just depends on how this offense is going. I mean, if you look at these guys and how they've played, I mean, that's what kind of worries me is when Herbert's not playing well, everything just falls off. And I know they wanted to set this offense up, based around him. Well, it worked a little bit, but it's starting to catch up with them. So I think they got to regroup and try to get Ekeler more involved, no matter how that is. If it's running the ball and trying to establish more of a running game, he's your best option for it. So.
Yeah, I agree. He's a monster. You just got to make sure he's healthy, and that's kind of the only thing with him. So,
all right, move into some receivers here then.
We just got a question here. Thoughts on CeeDee Lamb? I just traded for him. So CeeDee Lamb's a guy who was on the high side of our talk here, and he's trending in the right direction. I like him. I liked him more coming into the season than anybody else on this Cowboys receiving core. And I think with Dak healthy and hopefully healthy the rest of the year, I think CeeDee Lamb can be easily a top 10 receiver. Anybody have other thoughts there?
I mean, I think he's right around there right now. Mark Cooper hasn't really been doing much, and it seems like CD has been that guy for each week that's been the safe dude. So
right,
it wouldn't shock me. I think he does finish right around that 11 to 14 range.
I think he could easily go higher than that. Honestly, I don't see why not. He's super talented, and I think Dak is starting to realize he can trust CeeDee Lamb a little bit more than Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper just disappears. Yeah. Which is something I've always had an issue with. Amari Cooper is going to have his 2 more games the rest of the year, and I'm going to hear it on Twitter every time he does, because I'm a Amari Cooper hater because of that. inconsistency just will ruin me for a player. But I just anyway.
Yeah, I think Lamb is going to finish top 10. I would go as far as maybe even top 7.
Yeah, I could see it, man. I mean, with all the injuries and kind of inconsistent play from some of the guys that we would have thought would have been up there, I could see that. Anyway, you want to lead with some of these receivers, AJ?
Yeah, we'll talk about a guy with a great name here, AJ Brown. I mean, he's really stepped up in these last 5 weeks. Granted, he only played 4 weeks in the first 5, but again, this is a guy that a lot of people were going after as possibly first receiver or second receiver, depending on who you went with in the first round. I mean, I think Brown is a good receiver, but how much of this uptick, in play? I mean, he's over 10 points higher right now for these last 5 weeks. I know part of that might have to do with the Henry injury, but what are your thoughts on Brown, Adam?
He's been a streaky guy. It's weird because we thought when Henry went down, he would explode. And I don't know if did he have his big breakout week, the week of the Henry injury, or was it like the week when Henry got injured? I'm not sure, but regardless, AJ Brown has been streaky and not consistent. So he's a guy where you're probably starting him each and every week, but I don't feel confident in it every week. I think sometimes it could be matchup dependent. The Titans are playing the Texans this week. So honestly, I think AJ Brown's a good start for this week, but when he starts to play some tougher defenses, in which Colts, when they play them again, it might get a little tougher because Ryan Tannehill just isn't the same quarterback he was last year, where he was making all sorts of plays, finding receivers. He's kind of just been doing it in his own type of way this year, in which sometimes he'll get it done through the running back. Sometimes he'll find wide open guys, Marcus Johnson, or use the tight ends and Anthony Fersker. But we haven't really seen a whole lot of heavy usage of even Julio Jones when he was active and going, and AJ Brown. I mean, no, he had a couple games in which I'll pull up where
7 and 8 against Kansas City and the Colts. He had 27 and 31 fantasy points. Outside of that, it's a couple in the teens and then a bunch of single digits. He's like Amari Cooper this year, which sucks to say because I have a lot of AJ Brown. So
yeah, I drafted him in a ton of leagues, got him as steals.
I thought it was a steal too, right? I mean, I agree with you 100%. So yeah, it's tough, man. I think he's going to stay on this trajectory. Like, if you want to average it out of this, being way better than he was in the first 5, because he's going to have a few more blow up games. We just know it's going to happen. It's AJ Brown. But yeah, I'm a little hesitant to say he's going to, be consistent. But yeah, it's AJ Brown. You almost have to start him every week.
I'm looking at his games right now, and
they're not great.
It's not great. I mean, his targets have been there when he's healthy. The New Orleans game was tough. Granted, he had Lattimore, obviously. But previously, the last 4 games, he had 11, 11, 9, 9. So targets are there, I guess. But that offense, it's interesting.
Yeah. I will say, outside of that New Orleans games, I still like, at least within the last 4 or 5 games here, I like the targets that he's getting. He's just got to perform. He's just got to do something with them. So I guess that's why I say like his average will still be up there, but I mean, and he was banged up earlier on in the year too, so we do got to remember that. So maybe the trend going forward is there. I think next up, AJ.
Next guy we got here, and we really have 2 here. We're going to talk Buffalo. So you got Stefon Diggs, who's had a slight increase. He was sitting at a little over 14 and a quarter for the first 5, and then went up to just under 21. Meanwhile, Manny Sanders was pretty close to him to start at almost 15 and a quarter points, but he's dropped like a rock all the way down to just under 8 points a week.
Yeah. And honestly, I didn't realize this when I was looking at the notes, AJ, because you're probably not going to say it, but Cole Beasley right under Diggs here as the point difference. I didn't notice this for some reason when I was doing this earlier today. 9.5 to 14.5. So he's like right there as far as like gaining. So Diggs and Beasley are both up, and then Sanders is way down. So and even I think Gabe Davis is like trending in the positive direction. I don't think he's on this sheet though, but yeah. There's something that's changing in Buffalo, and we see Zack Moss going the opposite way too. So the passing game is going up for most players. The run game's going down for a lot of these guys. So, like, just overall thoughts with this entire offense here, I guess, is really what we're looking at, Adam.
It's been odd, It seems like Allen has just been, trying to find the best option in a sense, and Diggs has been weird because it seemed like Dawson Knox and Emmanuel Sanders were the problem. But obviously, he showed it last week that Diggs could be Diggs. And I don't know what's going on, but he's a guy that you still just got to start him each week. He's getting a lot of usage. I think his targets are there. But Emmanuel Sanders, I'm pretty sure he's leading the league in touchdown or end zone targets. And I want to say he's like top 10 in red zone receptions, so red zone targets. So Sanders is taking up a lot. Dawson Knox coming back too. He was targeted quite a bit by Allen in the end zone. So all mixture into that is kind of affecting. Then you also got Cole Beasley, in which he's had his, random games in which he'll just pop off for, 14 targets and 11 catches or something crazy like that. So Diggs has more problems than he did last year, but he's still the same, I guess, stud wide receiver one that has the same upside that he did last year.
Yeah, you were asking about Diggs performing early on, like in the targets. The targets were there early on easily, like 14 in week 1, and the 8 and 10, 11, 5, 11, 7, 8, 13. I think the difference was defenses were targeting and like focusing on Diggs, and Allen struggled a little bit early on, right? And was almost like forcing the ball to Diggs, it felt like, and it wasn't working. And then finally started like throwing it to Sanders, throwing it to Knox, and then Knox got hurt. But regardless, like, and now defense have gone. I feel like it looks like defenses have realized, we have to cover these other guys, so they can't like double Diggs every single down. So, Diggs has now the last 3 or 4 weeks here done what he did last year. And that's why I think it can continue, because Allen has shown he's going to spread the ball around if that's what you give him. It's not just going to be Diggs go long here by every single week, which is what happened last year. So that's why I think it is very, very sustainable for him. There's no analysis here. I just want to mention, by the way, Cooper Kupp is ridiculous. 23.76 points to start the year PPR. He's actually gotten better. Okay. All right, Cooper Kupp is your world. We're just living in it. A guy kind of interesting. Jaylen Waddle, PPR. I'm in a lot of half PPR leagues. So Jaylen Waddle is kind of meh in those, but PPR, man, he's getting a lot of targets, not a lot of yards, but a lot of targets and catching a lot of passes. And it's showing PPR 10.86 in the first half, 15.5 so far going forward. Now, Tua's the guy moving forward. It looks like Brissett kind of had his moment for there, while Tua was out. Is Tua going to be able to keep this going for Waddle, especially in PPR?
I think so. We've seen that Tua and Waddle have that Alabama connection or whatever it is, in which, Tua just feeds him. He knows he's a solid receiver. Waddle gets open. We literally saw it in the Baltimore game. Waddle, I think, had 2 targets, 1 catch from Brissett. And then right when Tua came in, he throws a nice 25-yard pass to Waddle where he gets open, put it right on the money, gave it to him. And in the last couple games where Waddle was playing, he had Tua was playing, he had 10 targets and 11 targets. And then while Brissett was playing, he did do all right, in which he had 13 8 targets, but he had 6 and 4 targets, which was not the best.
Right.
And then week 1, he obviously had the 6 targets, 4 catches, 1 touchdown, 14 points with Tua against New England, a respectable defense. And the only other couple times he's been shut out was against Buffalo twice, and then Tampa Bay and the Colts, which I guess the Colts one comes as a bit of a surprise, and which I think Brissett was playing that game.
Colts
So
randomly show up some weeks though. Like,
yeah, that's
it's kind of like Tennessee's defense. Like
very true.
Tennessee will be like, "Hey, we want to play football today on defense. Hey guys, what's up?" So yeah. Just to finish off the receivers here, and then AJ, I'll let you cover the tight ends just to finish up here quick. DJ Moore has easily gotten worse. We're now getting Cam Newton back. Do you think there's any hope that this gets saved with Cam Newton?
Possibly. I mean,
that's a no.
It's hard to tell because Cam Newton only had like a little bit of, taste of action. Mm-hmm. And granted, he looked phenomenal, but I think this Cardinals team was already
Christian McCaffrey. People who rostered Christian McCaffrey wouldn't disagree.
I think McCaffrey will help out for sure.
Just not last week.
I don't think Cam's going to be a turnover machine, in which what we saw Darnold be. So I think that'll help out a little bit. The one player I do think that Cam could help is Robbie Anderson, in which Robbie got a touchdown last week.
Yeah.
He hasn't been doing a whole lot. It was clear that him and Sam Darnold just did not have any chemistry, hated each other for some reason, and was not the match made
which I don't understand.
We thought it was going to be when Darnold was brought in back with
he was phenomenal in New York with Darnold. Like, I don't understand.
It was weird. Yeah, it was weird.
I don't know if they hated each other. It's just there were passes that went literally right to Robbie Anderson's like chest. It was like right here, and it was like just drops it.
Part of that.
What is going on?
Games where Robbie Anderson just dropped easy passes. I think Darnold kind of got sick of it and saw DJ Moore catching everything in sight and Christian McCaffrey catching everything in sight, and was just, I'm not passing you no more.
You're a bum.
Yeah,
throwing it that way. Yeah. I mean, I don't. There's nothing else to say there. I mean,
no, I agree. I mean, I think to me, I agree. Like, maybe, or at least DJ Moore, owners are hoping. Last one here, and this is a very hot topic all over the place. Mr. Mike Williams, what is going on? I mean, the worst of the worst by a long shot. Negative 17.29 PPR point difference between the first 5 games and the second 5 games. He has looked worse than he has had any other season, I feel like, these last 5 games. What do we do with this guy, man?
I mean, you got to keep him on your bench. You just kind of wait and see till the next breakout game happens, but ultimately, I think a lot of people could have saw this coming, in which Mike Williams has done this before, in which he has posted big 2-3 touchdown games, went off, sent your team into victory mode with ease, but he's kind of come back down to earth a bit, in which he's a touchdown dependent guy. And if Justin Herbert isn't having his A game and they aren't dominating teams, then Mike Williams isn't really your best option. And if he's not getting those touchdowns, then he's not having a great game.
Honestly, though, it's not even just touchdowns. And we've talked about this before. Like, he is not seeing the targets anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, if you look at his game log, right, it's the first few weeks, 12, 10, 9. There was a 4, and then 16. 5, 5, 5, 6. What? Like, what changed? And he destroyed it the first few weeks, the first 5 weeks, outside of week 4. But I don't really know what changed. Like, this is like I've been trying to figure this out all over the place, and I didn't draft Mike Williams anywhere. I had him on a dynasty team, and after week 6. He still had value, and I went, Peace. Sold him for a first-round pick. Sucks for that guy. So, because I kind of knew better. Like, I knew that wasn't real. But the guy's a contender and was hoping it was. And so,
Yeah.
don't fault him for doing it. But I'm kind of laughing to the bank now because I'm gonna get a nice first-round pick out of that. My team sucks in that league. So,
I think the big thing here too is, like I was saying, as Justin Herbert goes, so does the rest of this offense. But out of everybody, Mike Williams seems to have suffered absolutely the most. When you look at their early schedule, I mean, it wasn't super easy. Washington, you thought coming in was going to have a good defense.
And honestly, that was actually a pretty low scoring game. Honestly.
It was, yeah, 20-16. But then you have the Cowboys loss. Okay, Chiefs they win, Raiders they win, Browns they win, and then they get demolished by the Ravens. Close one against Patriots, beat the Eagles, which suck at Eagles, you turds, and then lost to the Vikings. I mean,
here's the thing though. Like Herbert's still passing the ball a lot. Now his completion percentage has dropped considerably.
Oh, his completion percentage
that's a big change there. But
right now,
still though, like his attempts are still up, and they're just not going toward Mike Williams, regardless. So I saw somebody on Twitter. And Adam, I don't know if you saw this. It was a couple weeks ago. Somebody posted on Twitter like the route tree for Mike Williams since week 5 has changed drastically. They were using him all different ways early on. And now, since then, it's basically back to the old Mike Williams where it's go deep. And that doesn't work for him. He is a much more talented receiver than go deep. So I don't know what's changed, but it's not working, and they need to go back to the old way, and I think they're going to win a lot more games that way, but, I'm not the coach. That's just my 2 cents. So let's jump over here to some tight ends. Hell yeah, man.
all right,
let's finish up here with the tight ends, and let's let Adam get out of here.
Yeah, so a couple of guys younger.
Yeah, just lump these guys together, man.
Pat Freiermuth and
Freiermuth.
Kmet.
Freiermuth. I don't know.
I mean, they were both super down early in the season. 5.4 for Pat and 3.62 for Cole. I mean, Cole's still under 10, but he's got a nice jump, almost 6 points, and Freiermuth jumped up, 8.25. What are you attributing this to? I mean, do you care about these guys? Or, the tight end market in general is just
bad.
If you don't have one of the the top guys, Kelsey, Kittle, Waller, Hawkinson, Pitts, Andrews, kind of just screaming. Gesicki actually now.
Yeah,
although
thanks for that 0 the other week.
Yeah,
right.
Heard.
It's kind of ironic.
Yeah. So
yeah, what
do you think, Joe?
What I would think from this is, we talked about this last week with Freiermuth. He's obviously a guy. If you don't have one of those top dudes, I think you're picking him up. Kmet for me is a guy who I think is starting to jump into the radar. And Adam, your thoughts on Kmet a little bit? I think he's sort of in that like streamable tight end range where it's like, if you're dealing with like, I don't know, you have like a Goddard, maybe you look at a Kmet, probably not, but maybe that Ertz type of range. What do you think?
I think he can get there. I still think him and Fields have a little bit of learning to do. Kmet's still a young guy. I think he's got a little bit more to grow. As we've seen, tight ends don't really break out to their max in year 1 or 2. It usually takes a couple. So I think sorry, I'm watching JC Jackson.
I know. I saw
take it back to the house. Have the Patriots defense going.
Out of bounds.
Was it really?
It really
well,
was.
I'll take the interception.
I guess I'm ahead of you. Sorry to be.
That's all right. No worries. I'll take the interception.
That's good because you want the points for your running backs.
That's true. Yeah. If Stevenson could, right there. If Stevenson could get in, I will take it. But back to Kmet. Yeah, I think he can be a legit type of Goddard tight end. Not, any Kelsey, Waller, Kittle type potential.
No.
But I definitely think he could be maybe like a poor man's Mark Andrews, in which, he'll have those good games, but he's just not as consistent.
Yeah, I mean he's been pretty good the last few weeks. For a tight end, 8, 9, 5, and then a 14 last week. The targets have gone up considerably, so he's getting more comfortable, and Fields seems like he's getting more comfortable with him. To finish things off here, I got 2 highlighted, and I've got Darren Waller, which, yes, I get it. Darren Waller is still a legit tight end 1. You're still starting him every single week, but he is going in the wrong direction. And now without Ruggs, he's getting a little bit more attention, even more so. So I don't think there's really anything to worry there, but just something to keep an eye out for. And then Dalton Schultz is the one I want you to comment on here. And Schultz, 14.4 the first 5 weeks, now down to just under 7. And now you got to also remember that Gallup is back. So are you concerned with Schultz? And would you even consider swapping out like a Kmet for a Schultz? Or it's the other way around, I guess is what I should say. I mean, the way that they've been playing.
Yeah. Schultz, he isn't your safe start as you thought. I mean, I still think you're starting him, but man, ever since that bye week, his usage has dropped. They got the Chiefs and the Raiders coming up. They're not the best defense in the world. So I think you're definitely starting him against this Chiefs defense. But if he busts against the Chiefs defense, like a 5-point or lower, even 7-point or lower type game, you probably might want to sit him until he proves himself again, especially if Gallup does something or gets a few targets is meaningful. But as of
Gallup
now,
saw 6 targets again last week. I mean, look, against Minnesota, he saw 7 targets, but only caught 2. Last week against Atlanta, bad defense, 2 targets, caught 1. Things are going in the wrong direction for him pretty fast. I don't know. I've a bit of worry for him. So yeah, I might give him another week, but it's gonna be he's got a short leash in my opinion. You can stream like a Dan Arnold who's still out there in a lot of leagues, who's just getting peppered with targets, and they're just working in PPR leagues. But, all right, man. Adam, I know you got to bounce, and we are running a little longer than I told you, so I apologize for that. But
no worries.
Enjoy the last few minutes of the game. Hopefully, one of your running backs falls in the end zone. Yeah. So for my rankings, I hope so too, because I need one of them to do something. They're not doing anything. But anyway, welcome to Fantasy Six Pack. We are looking forward to your future articles and future NFL bets articles that are coming out starting next week. But remind everybody where they can find you on Twitter and anything else you got going on.
Just check me on Twitter at everydayffb. Just posting all my good fantasy football content. And if you guys are Lions fans out there, any Lions fans listen,
hey. Talk to Dave Eddy on our Slack channel, man.
Hey, you guys can definitely hit them up. We're on Lions page, Honolulu Blues _ on Twitter. Post nice. A lot of good Lions content, even though we're not the best, but makes for a lot of good memes. So
Dave Eddy always likes to talk misery with anybody Lions. So
hey, we have not Detroit Lions haven't lost in November, so I don't know. Might be going on.
All right, man. Take what you will, man. All right, man. Appreciate you coming on. Have a good night and enjoy the rest of the game.
Thank you, man. You too.
All right. See ya.
Peace. All right, AJ. Yeah, we are a little long, so let's just kind of rip through these injuries. Stop on a few of the more important ones, but let's just do it. So Kyler Murray, ankle, limited practice on Wednesday. Obviously, that's a big one. I mean, I don't think anybody's trusting Colt McCoy. Hopkins is out, but I mean, like they were so bad last week. Do you trust anybody on this offense outside of maybe Connor?
No. No. Not in that. I mean, maybe Ertz. No.
Lamar Jackson, questionable with an illness, is not supposed to be COVID related, so he should be back, but we'll see. Baker Mayfield, knee, foot, shoulder, my neck, my back, my everything.
My neck, my back.
Little Friday reference. Anyway, For you youngins, go
I'll
watch
get
that
out
movie.
Friday by the time we finish the show.
Yeah, questionable, but sound like he'll play. Aaron Rodgers, questionable with a toe. Didn't practice Thursday. My guess is he plays, but man, honestly, we know how it rolls. If Love has to play, bench everybody. Big Ben illness. Tomlin said he doesn't need to practice to start. Okay. I mean, obviously he's still in COVID, so as long as he just gets cleared by Saturday night, I guess he's good to go, or Sunday morning. Latavius Murray, questionable with an ankle, limited practice Wednesday. So obviously if Latavius Murray is healthy, which I kind of lean that he's going to be, that's why they cut Lev Bell. So sounds like Murray's in, which means everybody else should not be started. You don't really want to start Murray if you can help it. Nick Chubb, still questionable with COVID, trending in the right direction. Sound like he's probably going to play. Jamal Williams for Detroit, questionable thigh, limited practice Thursday. DeAndre Swift, questionable shoulder injury, limited practice. James Robinson, questionable with a knee, heel. The knee is kind of new, so that one's kind of worrisome, but limited practice. Obviously, if he plays, you start him. If he doesn't, I don't know, hide, I suppose. But he's also limited with his shoulder on Thursday, so who knows? Hide. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, IR still not looking good for this week. So take that for what you will, but I know he's coming back soon. Josh Jacobs, questionable with a knee, limited practice Thursday. Jalen Richard, questionable with ribs, limited practice Thursday. Kamara, knee, did not practice, so fire up that Mark Ingram if he does not start. That is an automatic start in my opinion.
So,
Barkley, what?
Hold on.
Okay.
So with this Kamara injury and this homecoming, if you will, of Ingram, was there more to this than we were, led on to believe before the Ingram trade happened? Like, was Kamara just already starting to be injured, and then they're like, Houston sucks, bring Ingram back. He knows this offense.
No, Kamara had like 20-something carries the week before they traded for Ingram. No, he was fine.
Exactly. What injured him? Or I said his name. I don't know.
Probably did. Anyway, Barkley, questionable with an ankle, limited practice Thursday. Sounds like he might actually be back this week. So, thoughts on Barkley returning? Automatic plug and play, or you want to wait to see what happens?
No.
I mean, it's the Giants. I mean,
exactly.
Keith, you listening?
It's the Giants. No.
Got to get a
no way,
somehow.
No chance in hell.
I'm skipping Booker because who cares? Miles Sanders, IR, designated to return. If he plays, what do we do with the Eagles offense?
It's going to go back to a passing offense. And
is it?
I would not start Miles Sanders.
I'm not starting any of those running backs, honestly. I don't want to start any of them now. Elijah Mitchell, questionable with a fractured finger that he had to get a little bit of work done on like Tuesday. Somehow he is still possible to play. I have no idea how this is happening. But, hey, if he plays, he plays. You start him. He's been awesome. He's questionable. Did not practice Wednesday. Honestly, if Mitchell doesn't play, you're fine up Jeff Wilson. That's an automatic start in my opinion.
Yeah.
Alex Collins, questionable with a groin. Chris Carson did not practice Wednesday. Probably not returning again this week. Jeremy McNichols, questionable with a concussion. Did not practice Thursday. And Antonio Gibson, on a record player. Moving on.
On a record player, yet we talked down about him, and he has a huge game.
No shit, right? I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Yeah.
I laughed. I had to laugh at that.
I didn't.
All right, receivers, you got D-Hop, still questionable with a hamstring. He did not practice. Rashad Bateman, questionable with an illness. I wonder if him and Lamar have the mononucleosis or whatever it's called. I mean, that's not COVID related, you know what I'm saying? Marquise Brown is questionable with a thigh. He did not play or
By the
practice
way, if
Thursday.
Marquise Brown is out, fire up Bateman easily. Bateman and
If
Lamar are going to
he's
play.
over
They're gonna
the
play.
kissing disease. Yeah.
Stop it. Go.
The itis.
Got
Cole Beasley, questionable with the ribs. Allen Robinson, questionable with a hamstring, did not practice
Who cares?
Thursday. Daryl Moonover, Nahami. Nope, that was Robinson. Questionable with a foot, limited practice Thursday. Jarvis Landry, questionable knee. Donovan Peoples-Jones, the new court drama on Court TV, questionable with a groin. MVS, questionable hip, limited practice Wednesday. Alan Lazard, not Lizard, is questionable with a shoulder. Shepard, suck it Giants, suck it Keith, questionable with the quads. DNP all week and or all season. Might as well have been Claypool, questionable with a toe, limited practice Thursday. Debo, questionable with a shin, limited practice Wednesday.
Please play.
DK, questionable
Please
with a
play.
foot, did not practice Wednesday. Antonio Brown, questionable ankle, DNP Thursday, and
Also
Godwin
dealing with
foot,
weird
question
COVID
bubble,
protocol.
LP Thursday. Jack Doyle, questionable with a knee,
Man.
limited practice Thursday. Goddard, that
Goddard.
guy, questionable concussion, limited practice today, today,
I
Thursday.
feel like you're trying to call Dallas Goddard the GOAT every time you say that. When you pronounce it wrong.
I'm just shortening my catchphrase of "Go Joe Dirt" to "Go Dirt."
Okay.
Gerald Everett, questionable groin, DNP Wednesday. Ricky Seals-Jones, the other court TV drama, is questionable with a hip, did not practice Thursday. Logan Thomas is questionable with a hamstring. He did not
probably not
practice
gonna play.
Wednesday. He's still on the IR in some platforms, so I doubt he plays, but
yeah. He hasn't been officially activated yet. That's what the difference is.
And then defense, you're looking at Chase Young is on the IR with an ACL tear.
Probably gonna miss.
That's a huge
most of
blow
next year,
to
An
a football
already
team's
crappy
defense, who shall rename Washington, and they suck. So it's hurtful. He was not having a great season as it is.
He's still.
I mean,
Still garnered a lot of attention. He wasn't having the stat gaudy.
Yeah, he
season,
wasn't
but
blowing up like he did last year. But
all right, let's finish up the show with our DFS picks here. Rifle through my stacks and smash plays here, and obviously you got to start off with Diggs and Allen. I mean, I know Indy's been pretty good, but I mean they're gonna be really, really good here still, in my opinion. This week against Indy, we do have a question actually that our good producer Mike just led us up to. Wilson, Cousins, or Tua this week?
Ooh.
Oh man, I know it's hard after what Wilson did last week, but I think you're still starting Wilson. No, I'm still starting Wilson.
Nope.
Cousins against Green Bay. Green Bay's defense has been legit. Wilson against Arizona, he's gonna have to pass the ball against this team if Kyler and them play. I still think it's Wilson. I think Wilson had to get the rust off last week. So I'm still all in on Wilson for this. I know it's tough, man.
I think I'd go Tua first, but
Ooh. That's a tough one for me, man. It's hard to not just pick Russ.
I mean,
they're not. I mean, look for me. Look, I'll be honest. It's 12. It's QB 12, QB 14,
Flacco.
and QB 15. They're all right there. I mean,
yeah.
Flip a 3-sided coin, man, and figure this one out. They're all right there. They're all going to be within. Wilson's the more established quarterback. Cousins is he has his ups and downs. Tua has the better matchup. I get the question totally.
Yeah.
I just lean Wilson, who is the way better quarterback overall, has the better receivers, and will seemingly figures it out more often than you thought. Then follow-up question here. Thoughts on Deonta Foreman? I don't have a lot, I'll be honest. I mean, he's a flex running back at best.
I somehow managed to get him for $0 at like 2 p.m. in Scott Fish
because nobody cares
because he's
about
awesome.
him. I mean, the offense is terrible, or the running game is terrible for Tennessee. They're splitting it between 3 guys now. It's Houston, so the favorable matchup, but there's just so many other guys that would play. Like, obviously,
Houston.
if you lost Henry, you're probably desperate for somebody here, but Foreman's not exactly a guy I'm going crazy for. Wow, we're getting questions galore here. Should I trade Waller and Waddle for Evans and Ertz? Waller, Ertz, Waddle, Evans. Ooh, no. Especially in PPR, no. I like Evans has that ceiling, right? I get it. I love it. But he had 2 catches last week. One just happened to go for like 45 yards and a touchdown. If it hadn't been for that, he would have scored like 3 points. It was like 1 catch for 10 yards. It was terrible. Waddle's going to get you those PPR. We talked about it earlier in the show where he's just a PPR monster. He's getting the targets. He's getting the catches. Waller is still way better than Ertz. And so I think that is what sways it even more to that side.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Evans, even without Brown and Godwin last week, sucked. So, those guys are going to come back and maybe take some pressure off of him. So maybe he'll still have a few good games here and there. But the Waller Waddle side is definitely where I would stay.
Yeah, I know that Evans is a flashy name, but don't get fooled. It's not as great as it should be. Because remember, Gronk's coming back. AB will be coming back, maybe, if he didn't forge his COVID card. But who knows?
I mean, who hasn't these days? Come on. It's whatever.
I mean, we'll just forgive it. No. It's just one of those, like, there should be people coming back that's going to even take less, that's going to give less targets to Evans. So, anyway, I mentioned Allen and Diggs. That's an obvious one. It's the highest price stack on the Kyle Van Noy, another defensive touchdown. Holy smokes. Anyway, that's the highest price stack on the slate, but I think it's worth it. They've obviously, figured it out, as we mentioned earlier with Diggs. Dak and CeeDee Lamb versus Kansas City, 72 and 7,600, a little bit cheaper. Not much cheaper. It was a tough one for me to pick this one, but KC's defense has not been good. Obviously, Rodgers and Adams versus Minnesota. This one's pretty high priced too. I'll be honest, this one was a hard one for me to pick because Rodgers hasn't been Rodgers and Adams has not been as good, partially because of love, but I will say this. Rodgers loves to crush NFC North opponents no matter what happens. And with no Aaron Jones, now Dylan's fine, but I think Rodgers is just going to do his thing like he does a lot. A cheaper stack, which is kind of sneaky, considering he threw 3 interceptions last week and looked abysmal. Tyrod Taylor and Brandon Cooks. Tyrod Taylor is 5,000. Cooks is 6,000 versus Tennessee, who's been destroyed. I think this is going to be a sneaky stack and help you pay up for a lot of really, really good players. And I know we got a comment, Michael. We will get to it in just a second. Let me finish this little segment here. Another smash play for me. This is not a stack, but there's a guy who you really want to focus on, I think. Joe Mixon versus Vegas, 7,600. Obviously, we mentioned it before, like he's getting more heavily involved in the pass game, and on DK that plays big time. With it being PPR. CMC versus Washington. Washington's been pretty good against the run, but that's not where CMC gets his points. I'll be honest. Like, he'll run a touchdown in here and there, but he's just gonna check down. He'll get 8, 9, 10 catches or targets a game. So 8,900, highest price running back on the slate. You can pay it for that easily. Debo versus Jacksonville. Hopefully he's healthy. 7,800, still pretty cheap for what he's been doing. So I'm all over that. The question here, Michael. Thanks for chiming in here. We got Pitts, Renfro, Moss for what running back realistically? I don't get the question actually. Is that are you talking about putting all three of those in?
I believe he's trying to do a combination for
like
a
a
trade
3 for 1. I mean, if you're giving up Pitts, Renfro's solid. Zack Moss is not. I mean, if you're giving up Pitts for a tight end needy team, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some like RB2s. I don't know, like a
Michael
David
Carter.
Montgomery, basically. Maybe you might be able to snag like a David Montgomery who hasn't like crushed it yet, coming back, but's gonna get a lot of work. I like that.
I can see Monty. Yeah.
You can go after like a Monty. I wouldn't go after like if somebody's gonna give you like a Gaskin back. No, not worth it. I don't think I would even do a Michael Carter, honestly, in my opinion.
No, I was more joking with that, but
somebody wants to give you James Robinson if you think he's gonna stay healthy. That's fine too. That's the right range, I think. Though those are good ones, I think. Hopefully we get your question right, Michael. It was kind of hard to understand, but I think that's where we're at. So anyway, you want to rip through these fades, man?
Yeah. So we talked about him earlier, not believing in Cam. So DJ Moore versus at 5,900. I mean, 7.9 points in his last 3. Even in a fairly favorable matchup, I don't know. I don't like Moore.
Nope.
I think you can put money elsewhere. Landry versus Detroit, 5,100. I mean, the volume's just not been there for Landry. Even with OBJ gone, Landry was super down last week. He's just been
They're just not
down
passing
in
enough,
general.
period. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the volume. I mean, this is still a run-first offense. Dalton Schultz at 4,600. Fade. No thanks. Boring. Jonathan Taylor. Bills are legit. So at 8,300, I mean, this is somewhere where you got to look and say, well, I think I'm comfortable sitting one of the best at this price because it's the Bills D. You got Devonta Smith versus New Orleans. He will highly likely have Lattimore on him. So,
saw what they did to AJ Brown. So
he was lucky enough to turn 2 of his 4 catches into touchdowns last week and, have a good game. But 6,400, it's a little steep for somebody with Lattimore on him. Russ Wilson, I already talked about it. I mean, I don't like him this week after seeing what he didn't do last week in his first game back. Granted, Packers are a solid defense. It's, it was one of those games, first game back from being off for a while, but I mean, he was worse than bad. So at 6,500, I need to see him healthy before I can trust him there. So what do you got for values?
All right, man. So my value plays here. It's tough because we have a lot of injuries and there's a couple strong teams on bye this week, unfortunately. But couple values here. Got DeAndre Carter, Washington receiver here against Carolina, 3,300. I mean, like bottom of the barrel value here. 2 straight 6-target games and caught a TD in both of them. I mean, you basically don't have to. You're not paying any money for him, like the dirt cheap. Michael Gallup against Kansas City. He's seen 6 targets, and he saw 6 targets in his first game back. This is going to still be a very high volume offense all around, and against Kansas City. Like, I think a lot of people are expecting a shootout. So I would expect, you could easily hit value. I've got, like, you're not with these value guys. Keep in mind, you're not looking for guys to give you 25 points. You're looking for guys to give you 2.5x value, right? 2.5 value, maybe 3 times value. They hit their mark. They do what they need to do for you, and they can do it easily at this price point. That's what we're looking for.
And these
Montgomery
are the
versus
plays.
Baltimore, by the way, 5,500. Yeah, he's going to have to score 11, 12 points easily. He gets in the end zone and rushes for 50 yards. He's hit value, by the way, just about. So, and again, this was just because I needed to find a running back value. There is like literally none unless Kamara gets ruled out, which it sounds like he will. Ingram would be the value play there.
Yeah.
But Montgomery's right there too because they haven't raised his price up. So that's the one there. And then look, I'm doing it. Joe Flacco, $4,700 quarterback. I know he sucks. Guess who sucked last week? And I used, thanks to Mr. Dave Eddy in a few lineups, and it worked out for me. Guess who I used? Pittsburgh.
Quarterback?
Pittsburgh.
Oh, God. Please tell me you did not use
Mason Rudolph. Dude, he was like 40-something hundred. He threw 1 touchdown and hit value. It was done. It was like, it was over, man. Like, it was, he threw for 200 yards and a touchdown. It was like, it was over. And then when into overtime, it was like, oh man, it's even better. Stacked him with James Washington. James Washington's got that first touchdown. So it's like, I smash value right there. Like, again, that's all Joe Flacco has to do. Is just not be just god awful. He doesn't. He needs to not pull a Tyrod last week where he threw 3 picks, right? Like, or something like that. Like, he just needs to be a serviceable quarterback, and he makes value for you. So if you want to, the thing with that is like you could pair him with like a Crowder, right? Who's also 4,700, super cheap stack type of thing, and then that allows you to pay up for everybody else you want. You can grab CMC and Mixon and Debo and a bunch of these good players if you like go down and grab these 2 cheap players because Flacco wasn't announced the starter before the week started and they already announced their prices. So that's what you got to look for sometimes. So those are my fades or my values. And we are done for the night.
Yes.
Game is actually over. Holy cow. This was actually a really quick game. I know we're a little late, but the game usually has a little bit longer left of this. But, the Patriots shut out the Falcons. Not much offense in this game, honestly, man. It was pretty bad all around. So,
yeah, I mean, I couldn't even watch it because I finally moved my Orbi, which you cannot see unless I do that, down to the basement. So I can hardwire, and for some reason my TV did not want to find in wireless internet, even though it's literally right in front of it. So
awesome.
Something else for me to figure out over the weekend.
So, all right, man. Well, again, I'm at F6B Joe. AJ, where you at?
At Applegarth Algar.
By the way, you never changed your Twitter profile picture to that thing I sent you that you said you should have switched it to.
Oh fuck, that's right.
Totally should have. That was phenomenal. Anyway,
I do need to do that. Yes.
Yep. Good luck in week 11, everybody, and hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Facebook or wherever, and make sure you hit that subscribe button and win that Jerry Jeudy helmet, everybody.
Yes. Do it.
Peace out.
Cheers.